Chapter 9 Light, Shadows and Reflections. You will learn sources of light, shadow and its characteristics, luminous and non-luminous objects, pinhole camera and periscope, light travels in a straight line. Quick review. What is it that enables us to see other things but it itself cannot be seen? You may be surprised to know that the answer is light. It is indeed strange that light itself is invisible, but without it we cannot see things. Why so? How does light enable us to see? Moving ahead. Light is a form of energy. When it falls on an object, it gets reflected. Only when this reflected light enters our eyes, then we are able to see the objects. During the daytime or when you switch on a light source, the dust particles present in the air reflect the light, thereby illuminating the whole area and making it visible. During night, we need light bulbs, candles and tube lights to see the objects. Sources of light. The bodies that emit light are known as sources of light. Sources of light can be natural or artificial. Natural sources. The sources of light that are found in nature are called natural sources. The sun is the most important natural source of light energy. Some other natural sources are stars, meteoroid, glowworms or fireflies, etc. Artificial sources. Man-made sources of light are called artificial sources of light. Electric bulb, tube light, kerosene lamp, candle and torch, etc. are examples of artificial sources of light. Differences between natural and artificial light. Natural light, artificial light. Natural light is produced by the sun, stars, etc. Artificial light sources include man-made products such as incandescent or electric bulbs, fluorescent tubes and light-emitting diodes or LEDs. Sunlight contains all the colors of the spectrum. This helps the plants in producing food during photosynthesis. Artificial lights may not radiate a full spectrum of colors. The radiant energy given off by the sun has both light and heat. Artificial light sources may use gas and electricity to produce light and heat. Fascinating fact, only female glowworms glow. Male glowworms are only attracted to light. Female glowworm glows only for 2 hours each night. Luminous and non-luminous objects. An object that gives out its own light is known as luminous objects. In other words, sources of light can be called as luminous objects. For example, the sun, the stars, burning candle and lighted bulb, etc. are examples of luminous objects. As these objects give out their own light, they can be easily seen in the dark. A luminous object can be seen because the light emitted by it enters our eyes. When a luminous object emits light or glow that emitted at a cool temperature rather than one caused by a fire is known as luminescence. Luminescence can be seen in neon or fluorescent lamps, fireflies and natural phenomena such as lightning. Since in all these phenomena, the emission of light does not result in rising of temperature of the luminous object above room temperature, luminescence is also called as cold light. Objects which do not give out their own light are known as non-luminous objects. Table, chair, pen, sofa, utensils and books, etc. are examples of non-luminous objects. When the light falls on a non-luminous object like a table, it gets reflected in different directions. When this reflected light reaches our eyes, we can see the object. During the daytime, our room is lighted because of the reflection of the sunlight or by the several non-luminous objects in the room. Moon is also a non-luminous object. It shines because it reflects the light of the sun to us. Passage of light through materials. Pour orange juice in a clear glass tumbler. Can you make out the color of this liquid inside the tumbler when you observe it from a distance? Of course you can. This is because you can see through the glass very clearly. Now pour the juice in a steel, plastic or paper cup. You can observe the color of the liquid inside. You will not be able to do so because you cannot see through it. Light can pass through some objects and cannot pass through some. Based on this, materials properly are classified into three categories: transparent, translucent, or opaque. As light falls on an object, some of it gets reflected, some absorbed, and some passes through. As we have seen earlier, it is the reflected light that enables us to see objects. When most of the light passes through a material so that we can see through, we call it a transparent material. For example, glass, water, air, and clear plastics, etc. When most of the light gets reflected from a material and cannot pass through it, we call it an opaque material. For example, wood, metal, and cardboard, etc. Sometimes we have materials which reflected or absorb light partly but allow the rest of it to pass through. Such materials are called translucent. Speed of light. Light travels very fast. It travels in air at a speed of 3 into 10 to the power 8 m/s. The run is about 148.5 million kilometers away from the Earth. The sunlight reaches the Earth in just 8 minutes. The distance that light can travel in a year is called a light year. Light travels in a straight line. How does light travel? Did you observe light coming from sun through a gap in the clouds, or a beam of light entering a dark room through a small hole in the window or ventilator? These observations show that light travels in straight line. This property of light moving in a straight line is known as the rectilinear propagation of the light. Let us study this property with experiments. Real life connect. Keep a candle lighted on a table, close one eye and look at the lighted candle through a hollow pipe. It can be seen clearly. Now bend the pipe in the middle. Can you see the candle flame now? No, we cannot see the candle flame in the second case. This is because light travels in straight line. When the pipe is bent, the light of the candle flame fails to reach us. A straight line with an arrow represents a ray of light. From the source of light, several rays emanate at a time. A number of light rays emitted by a light source form a beam of light. Propagation of light. Parallel beam. When the light rays of a beam are parallel to each other, it is known as a parallel beam. Divergent beam. When the ray of light starts from a point and travels in various directions, then the collection of such rays is called divergent beam. Convergent beam. When the ray of light coming from different direction meet at a point, then the collection of such rays is called convergent beam. Shadow and its characteristics. A pinhole camera is a simple application of rectilinear propagation of light. It consists of a closed cubical box having a small pinhole in the front. The side opposite to the pinhole has a translucent screen of ground glass or greased paper. To use the camera, point it at an object which is at a distance such that the pinhole faces the object. In the above example, the camera has been focused on a distant tree. Now observe the back side of the camera. You can see an image or picture of the tree on the screen. This is because some of the light reflected by the tree passes through the pinhole to form an image on the screen. Characteristics of the image in a pinhole camera. The image of an object formed by the pinhole camera is inverted upside down. Image can be obtained on a screen. An image is of similar color as the object. The image in a pinhole camera is smaller than the object, equal to the object, or bigger than the object depending on the distance of the screen from the pinhole of the camera. Shadow. When an opaque object is placed in front of a source of light, a dark area is formed on the other side of the object, which is called shadow. This happens because the rays of the light are obstructed by the opaque object and cannot pass through it. Since the light travels only in a straight line, the rays cannot bend or bypass the opaque objects. However, they brush past the edges of the screen. Hence, a dark region in the shape of the object is formed behind the object or on the other side of the light source. This dark region is the shadow of the object. The sunlight also forms shadows of the objects which are on the ground or near the ground. For example, if we stand in the sun, our body casts a shadow on the ground on the reverse side of the sun. When we walk in the sun, our shadow also walks with us. Our shadow is very long in the morning and in the evening. It is the shortest in the noon as the sun is over our head. The shadow of an object forms on a screen opposite to the source of light. Surfaces such as a wall of a room, a building, or the ground act as a screen for the shadows. Thus, we require three things to observe a shadow: source of light, opaque object to obstruct the path of the light, screen on which the shadow can be seen. A shadow is formed due to rectilinear propagation of light. The size and the sharpness of the shadow vary. Characteristics of a shadow. When the source of light is very small, such as a point source, the shadow formed is uniformly dark. The size of a shadow depends on various factors such as distance of the object from the source and from the screen. If an object moves closer to the light source, the shadow gets bigger. If an object is moved further away from the light source, the shadow gets smaller. The shadow of an object is erect, that is, same side up as the object. This shadow is always black, irrespective of the color of the object. A shadow always shows only the outline or the shape of the object and not the details. A screen or surface is required for the shadow to form. In the absence of screen or surface, no shadow will be seen. Differences between a shadow and image. Serial number, shadow, image. 1. Shadow has no color. It can be black or gray. An image is the same color as the object. 2. A shadow depicts only the outline of the object. An image is an exact, whether enlarged or diminished replica of the object. 3. A shadow is established when light is blocked. An image is formed by the reflection of light. 4. A shadow does not display lateral inversion of the object. An image displays lateral inversion or left-right reversal of the object. Eclipse. Sun is a natural source of light. The earth and moon are objects revolving around it. Do they also cast a shadow? Is this shadow visible? Yes. Shadows are cast by the earth and the moon, with sun being the source of light. The shadow thus formed is visible and it is called an eclipse. Eclipse is the partial or total blocking of light from one object by another object in outer space. Eclipse of the sun, the moon passes between the sun and the earth. This is called solar eclipse. In this eclipse, the moon blocks some of the sun rays from reaching the earth. In case of eclipse of the moon, the earth comes between the moon and the sun. The earth then casts a shadow on the moon. This is called lunar eclipse. Solar eclipse occurs when the sun, the moon and the earth are in a straight line, with the moon between the sun and the earth. During solar eclipse, the dark side of the moon faces the earth. The dark portion of the shadow is called umbra and the less dark portion surrounding it is called penumbra. Lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse occurs when the sun, the earth and the moon are in a straight line, with the earth located in between the sun and the moon. During lunar eclipse, the moon's bright side faces the earth and hence it happens on a full moon day. Fascinating fact, the word eclipse comes from the Greek word eklipsis, which means downfall. Animals sometimes become confused and behave strangely during the total eclipse of the sun. The cycle of eclipses repeats every 18.6 years, called the Saros. Never ever look at the sun directly with the naked eye during a solar eclipse. This causes permanent damage to the eyes. Periscope. You have learnt that light travels in a straight line. In that case, how can we see something which is not in the straight line of vicinity? Is there any tool which can help us do so? Yes, the periscope is one such tool which can help us see objects even though they may not be in the straight line of vision. Let us see how it does so. A periscope is a device which helps us see above an obstacle that enables us to see objects which may not be in direct line of vision. It is very useful in specific cases such as in submarines or in battles. For example, a soldier sitting in a trench can observe the movements of the enemies above the ground. Similarly, a person sitting in a submarine submerged in water can see the ships over the surface of the sea. Let us find out how it works. Observe the figure. As shown, a periscope consists of an S-shaped tube. It contains two plane mirrors fitted at the two ends of the vertical part of the tube in such a way that each mirror makes an angle of 45 degrees with the side of the tube and reflecting surface. When light enters the upper end of the periscope, it is reflected inside the box by the mirror 1. These light rays fall on mirror 2. The second mirror reflects the rays outside the lower end of the tube from where you can see. The arrows shown in the figure tell us how the light rays travel. Subject integration related to daily life. Light is responsible for all life, to produce the air that we breathe, the cycles of our oceans, the magnetic fields around our planet, gravity, warmth, and our weather. We omit the importance of the true nature of the projection of our sun at our peril. Related to photography, by having background elements separated by shadows, it gives the impression of distance and space between objects. It is another great way to show texture in a landscape photography scene. Skills and values. Sun is the main source of light and heat for all the living things on Earth. Sun is the nearest star of Earth and is mainly made up of helium and hydrogen. Aside from natural sources, light may also be generated artificially. Light-emitting diodes are artificial source of light. LEDs are available in different colors. They consume less power and are environment friendly. Rapid review. Light is a form of energy. The bodies that emit the light are known as sources of light. Sources of light can be natural or artificial. Sun is the most important source of light. Artificial light sources, which can include incandescent or electric bulbs, fluorescent tubes, and light-emitting diodes or LEDs. Types of object. Types of object, definition, examples. Luminous object gives out its own light. The sun, the stars, lighted bulb and candles, and all types of luminescent object. Non-luminous objects, objects which does not give out its own light. Earth, moon, table, chair, pen, sofa, utensils and book. Transparent objects, objects which in light rays can pass easily and through which we can see clearly. Glass. Translucent objects, only a part of the light can pass through and we can see through them. Oil sheets and muddy water. Opaque objects which no light can pass and we cannot see through them. Wall and metal sheets. Light always travels in a straight line. This property of light is called the rectilinear propagation of light. When the light rays move out from a source in different directions, it is known as divergent beam. When the light rays move towards a point, it is known as a convergent beam. When the light rays are parallel, it is a parallel beam. When an opaque object is placed in front of a source of light, a dark area is formed on the other side of the object, which is called shadow. Shadows are black or gray. Shadows formed by the moon and the earth cause eclipses. There is solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. Key points. Light. It is a form of energy. The sources of light. The bodies that emit light are known as the sources of light. Natural sources of light. The objects which give out light by themselves are known as natural sources of light. Artificial sources of light. Those sources of light which are made by man are known as artificial sources of light. Periscope. A periscope is a device which helps us see above an obstacle and enables us to see objects which may not be in direct line of vision. Eclipse. Eclipse is the partial or total blocking of light from one object by another object. Solar eclipse. The eclipse that occurs when the sun, the moon and the earth are in a straight line with the moon between the sun and the earth is called solar eclipse. The shadow of the moon on the sun causes solar eclipse. Lunar eclipse. The eclipse that occurs when the sun, the earth and the moon are in a straight line with the earth between the sun and the moon is called lunar eclipse. The shadow of the earth on the moon causes lunar eclipse.